So we've gone to the audio advice webpage. You can see that on your screen now, and we're in the home theater section. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about what we got going on here?
Yeah, so the concept of this page is everything home theater related on one page. So if you were building a theater and you're a DIY person, this is a place you want to go live and spend time. And in fact, many new companies entering the installation space that are building a new CDA company, a new home theater installation company, often will use this page a tremendous amount to learn themselves and to design theaters. But you'll see here, this sort of shows you what's available on the page, the design tool, buyer's guides, video showcases, et cetera. But the thing that we're most famous for is this patented home theater design tool. And the challenge we faced, this was sort of at the very beginning of COVID, we had been working on a tool to speed up the process of designing theaters. And as you might imagine, people were building really nice theaters, might pay $3,000 to a designer, and we might go back and forth for weeks designing what they wanted to do. And we were using Visio and calculations and everything else. So what we decided to do was make this for free. And we originally only did it in the United States, but we had so many people interested worldwide that we added this metric button here where
Right on.
people worldwide can click metric and it'll switch everything there. But just to show you really quickly what happens, you can literally just lay out your room. You can set your width by dragging and dropping here like this. Set your height, everything else. Then go into seating and you can say, I want 2 seats per row, 3 seats per row. How many rows? We got 2 rows sitting here. Maybe my riser height, I don't have as much room for as much riser height. So I could change my riser height to be 8 inches. Notice something interesting here, Giles. When I went to 8-inch riser height, the screen moved up.
Oh yeah, no, it's taking into account the people's point of view and everything. It's really nice. Yeah.
Correct. So it's automatically seeing what the viewing angles are and making sure that it will play right over someone's head and so that you can see everything. The same is true with depth, right? If I change the riser depth, it actually moves the screen to make sure that you can see over people's heads. It's those calculations, used to be, okay, let's lay it out. We'll do the couch. We'd send it to the customer. And then they'd say, no, my designer really wants the chairs farther back. And this will literally do it live. Or you could change, your primary row. Let's say I want to make the front row the primary row. And you can pull the chairs. Anything that turns red, let's say when someone uses the tool, means it's out of Dolby spec. As soon as it gets out of red, so now it is back in Dolby spec. So you don't have to be an engineer to do this. Watch, if I move it up too close, you'll see eventually stuff will start to turn red. It's out of spec. And notice it's also moving all the speakers in the room.
Right.
And they're all positioning correctly for where that primary seat is, which is, obviously pretty cool. So you can set your distance either by moving it here or dragging and dropping, set your aisle position. And then the video setup, you can do a flat panel TV, but the cool stuff is the projectors. We actually put every projector that you would want to do in here. So let's just take a Sony, and I can choose the actual projector. So let's put in a Sony 6000.
Oh yeah, that 6000 is nice.
And maybe I want a 2.4 screen, so I'm going to go widescreen. What it does now is it shows me the throw distance. So it's showing me where in the room this could be at the very front and back. So I could grab this projector and move it anywhere here and see where it would be. And we've actually brought all these projectors into our lab and tested them because, as you know, the specs that the manufacturers give you aren't always 100% on, but these specs are 100% on.
Yeah, and this is for folks that haven't gone through the process of trying to put together a home theater. So, I've got a retrofit room in my basement that I turned into a home theater. And the most painful part was trying to go through the process of understanding where should I mount the projector to make sure that the throw is appropriate for the screen size. So this tool is outstanding because every projector is different, right? It's not like all projectors have the same throw, right? Everything has different lenses and everybody has a different screen size and a different size room. So this is a very important calculation that if you mess up can really make you sad. So
it's interesting you said
this feature is awesome.
The other thing it's doing, and you probably ran into this when you did yours. So, it changes the height from the ceiling depending on the size of the screen and all the other specs. This is changing that. And when you click save and view specs, it will also tell you the exact length of the rod that you need to hold it from the ceiling. Like all these things that when you do your own theater that you just sweat bullets on, because you're like, oh, I hope I got this right. it's doing those calculations and giving them to you. So everything that you see here, when you click this save and view, it's going to tell you exactly where these speakers are going to go, how high that screen is going to be, what the rod will be, you name it. It's literally, because we originally designed it, for our own team. So you can see your immersion level. It's going to tell you how immersive the experience is, and you'll see as I bring the chairs back, it's reducing the immersion level and giving you the viewing angle. So this you can relate to a THX or SMPTE viewing angles. In the old days, Giles, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, it used to be everyone recommended not a very wide viewing angle. And the feeling was, you didn't want to be too immersive. Now we almost never install a theater where someone comes back. In fact, I might even say never, where they come back and say, oh, the screen was too big. And so
Sure.
viewing angles are getting wider and wider, and we're getting to higher immersion levels. So as I move this forward, and you see it gets to extreme, we have more and more people going at full 50, over 50-degree viewing angle.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, that spec I think is a bit antiquated in today's world, because people want it out into their peripheral vision almost.
Yep.
And I found that, if you talk about televisions, the number one driver of satisfaction for general market, right, is the size of the television, right? That's the number one metric that at least I've come across. And I'm sure you guys have a lot more experience than me. But when I hear people complain, they're like, oh, I just bought the wrong size. It was too small. It's never, oh, my black level wasn't where I wanted it to be at, right? Because when you have your screen up at home, you don't have something to directly compare against, so that becomes a lot more difficult to see and understand. But you can never get away from the size. So I think that's awesome that you're considering those really wide viewing angles.
Yeah. So, it's all the things we would care about when we sat with customers. The other thing you can do, you can choose your screen gain in here. So, a lot of people, very standard is a 1.3 screen gain. That's then going to calculate, given that projector and where the projector is in here, what your brightness is. And it'll tell you if you're in spec or not for SDR and HDR. So, I mean, the amount of time savings, and I would say, you may have people that listen to your show that are not DIY, but maybe they're installers. And I would encourage you, like, if this is all helpful to you, just come use it and use it for your customers. We spent the time and effort to build this. And yes, our DIY customers use it and our own salespeople use it, but we're perfectly happy. I would say probably there's at least 100 stores out there that install theaters today that use this on a regular basis for their customers. So you can, and the audio setup's really cool. We've taken it to this. So you see, you've got the 3 front speakers here. I could change these to be in wall, and it moves the speakers. And then I could even adjust to a transparent screen. Mm-hmm. And it will show you where those go and tell you where to do the cutouts given the size of your screen. And then obviously if I'm going to do, in walls for the front, maybe I want to switch my main surrounds to be in wall. You can even add in front wides. So that was an addition we had later. So if I put in wall wides, it knows where these wides should go correctly. And then I can add in wall rears. You can choose number of subs. And then Atmos, let's just jump to 4 Atmos because this gets somewhat interesting. I'll show you from the top view.
Yeah, so you're starting to talk my language now, so that's starting to look like something that I like. Although you might want to change that number of subwoofers to allow up to 10 or something.
Actually, it's really funny. We've had, when we ask people what can we do better, obviously people go, oh, give me 3 or 4 subs. In this tool, we're not actually placing the subs, so we originally just set it at 2 because it would be easier to show it. Yeah. And then when people talk to our team, because anyone uses this, they get an email that has all the specs, but it says, look, if you want to do a 30-minute call with any of our designers, we'll just do that for free with you. And we'll jump on the phone and help people figure out the design and work with them. But at that point, if they did 4 subs, we would design where those subs would go.
Right on.
But what's really interesting, and this is my favorite part, there's 16 patents on this, different claims on this system that we were doing. We were designing it, but my favorite one is this one. This is the last little slider on the whole thing. And you'll see, we've literally built this in, 5 minutes or something. What this slider does that people always struggled with when we would meet with them is we'd say, do you want this to be perfect for your one seat? Or do you want this to be great for all seats? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I want both, right? And so, but there are some people that say, look, mainly this is my man cave. I want it great for me. And when other people come sit with me, they don't really care about the audio as much. And if that's true, you leave the slider in this left position. If you wanted it optimized for all seats, you'd pull it way over to the right. And notice what's happening to the Atmos as I do that. The problem in the first position right here is that, and you see our primary seat's this front seat. So we're at the correct angles for the front Atmos there, you see, and we're at the correct angles for the rear Atmos. But the people in the rear row are actually hearing the rear Atmos in front of them, which is not good. So if I now pull this over to all seats, you'll see that the rear Atmos are now behind the rears. The front Atmos are in front of the fronts, right? And if you look from side to side, the rights are all on the right and the lefts are on the left, right? What people will often do in the most used position, and this gets used, thousands of times per month as people build these things. If I slide it back, most people will take it to the position where they can get it where it hits all seats, but it's not orange anywhere. And so it's as close as you can get to being perfect here, but still allows every seat to have
Right.
So you and I have just really rapidly basically built a theater, and we can actually see what is the dispersion of the sound in here, and we can turn that on and off. We can get all our rulers to pop up. So showing us, let's say you're sitting with a designer doing this. Oh, this is 93 inches. This is 127 inches to the riser. All the sort of core stuff you would need to know real time.